So we're going to kick things off today, but not with tech. We're actually going to start with a little biology lesson from way back in the 18th century. And I know what you're thinking. What does that have to do with anything? But trust me, it is the absolute key to understanding one of the most sophisticated and frankly terrifying digital threats out there today. Okay, so picture it. The year is 1744. A Swiss naturalist, Abraham Tremblay, is looking at this tiny little freshwater creature called a hydra. He takes his blade, he carefully cuts it into pieces, and he figures, well, that's that. It's gonna die, right? Simple cause and effect. But that is not what happened at all, because the Hydra is, well, it's just incredible. It has no brain, no central command center. Its intelligence is spread out across its entire body. So every single piece he cut off just regenerated into a brand new, perfectly whole Hydra. This thing doesn't age, it never gets weaker. It's basically biologically immortal. And this, right here, is where things get really interesting. Fast forward to today, and security researchers looked at this biological weirdo and saw the perfect blueprint for a totally new kind of digital influence operation. A system that doesn't just survive an attack, it actually uses the attack to get stronger. Now, let's be super clear. This is not your old school bot farm. You know, those were so clumsy, right? Just a bunch of fully automated accounts all running from one central server that, honestly, wasn't that hard to find and shut down. No, this is an entirely different beast. It's a decentralized network of real human beings, all being directed by a central logic. And because it's humans, everything they do looks totally authentic. It's that blend, that human-machine hybrid that gives it its name, Cyborg. Okay, so how on earth is this thing actually built? Well, the whole structure follows that exact same biological logic of the Hydra. It's a distributed system, and it's designed from the ground up for one thing: to be impossible to kill. So first up, the brain. And let's get one thing straight. This isn't some server farm somewhere. It's a network of actual experts, psychologists, sociologists, who basically build a giant library of what makes people tick. They map out all the fears, the desires, the cultural buttons to push for a target audience. They use this to craft these messages that, on the surface, look totally fine, but are actually designed to cause a whole lot of damage. Next up, you've got the nerves. This is what connects that high-level strategy to the actual actions on the ground. And right at the heart of it is this thing called the synchronizer. You can think of it like the conductor of a symphony. It takes dozens, maybe hundreds, of what look like totally random individual posts and coordinates them. And the result? Suddenly it looks like this massive organic public outcry just popped up out of thin air. But it didn't. The whole system really operates through 5 key organs. First, intelligence finds the target's weak spots. Then, the narrative engine builds the story using subtle hints and questions, not obvious lies. After that, low-context executors get to work. We're talking freelancers who get paid for tiny one-off tasks. They have absolutely no clue they're part of some massive operation. Then, the amplifiers take that initial spark and create a firestorm across social media. And finally, you've got the Wikipedia operators whose job is to make sure the new, false narrative gets cemented as historical fact. All right, so we've got the anatomy down, but how does this thing actually, attack? Because this architecture isn't just a theory. It's a very real playbook for twisting reality on a massive scale. It really runs 3 main kinds of operations. You've got reputational attacks, which are all about destroying trust in a person or a company. You've got marketing ops, designed to create doubt about a competitor's product. And then there's the most advanced play, regulatory attacks. This is where they amplify an online story so much that it actually forces a real-world government investigation. Think about that. A digital ghost story becomes an official inquiry. And it attacks at 3 different speeds all at once. A flash op is designed to dominate the conversation in the first 24 to 48 hours. A burner op keeps that pressure on for weeks, making the story seem more and more plausible. And then a background campaign works slowly for months to make sure that narrative is permanently stuck in search results and on sites like Wikipedia. So if you're the target, it feels like this sudden hurricane of bad press that then settles into this lingering storm and finally becomes this permanent stain on your name that you can't wash off. And look, this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. Analysts have tracked this exact system operating all across Europe. These cases show the theory being put into devastating real-world practice. Take the doppelganger case in Poland. The system spun up these fake media websites that looked identical to real, trusted news sources. When the authorities figured it out and blocked a domain, a new one would pop up instantly. It was a perfect digital Hydra. You chop one head off, another one just grows right back, immediately. The Portal combat case shows a tactic that is even more, well, diabolical. The system was pumping out over 10,000 pieces of content every single day. But here's the absolutely wild part. This content wasn't even meant for humans. It was specifically designed to poison the data that AI models, like chatbots, are trained on. This is called LLM grooming, and it's basically weaponizing AI against itself, turning helpful chatbots into your own personal propaganda machines without them even knowing it. And this is the endgame right here. In Romania, a TikTok campaign for a candidate nobody had heard of was algorithmically amplified. It created such a powerful illusion of massive support that it led to a real-world institutional crisis. The actual courts had to step in and annul the results of a presidential election. I mean, that's insane. A TikTok campaign literally changed the course of a country. So this all brings us to the really scary part, the core of the problem. Why is this system so incredibly hard to fight? Well, because, just like that little creature from the 1700s, it's designed to regenerate. Here's the paradox. The moment you try to fight this system, you're actually feeding it. Every time a platform takes down a post or blocks an account, that takedown becomes the new content. The operators shout, "See? They're censoring us. What are they trying to hide?" The attack itself becomes the fuel for the next wave. It uses damage as a signal to grow back even stronger. And it's not just regenerating, it's getting smarter, way smarter. It uses something called a loop function. An AI is constantly watching how platforms moderate content. The second it detects that a certain kind of post is being flagged, the entire system automatically rewrites the narrative to get around that new rule. The machine is literally learning and evolving its tactics in real time, way faster than any human moderation team can possibly react. Okay, and if that wasn't enough, we get to the final layer, which honestly sounds like something straight out of science fiction. It's called the crawlbot layer. These are neutral AI agents, bots that just scour the internet for interesting content to share. They find the cyborg's narrative because it's engineered to be found, and then they amplify it everywhere, organically. These bots have no idea they're part of the plan. They're just neutral agents that have been tricked into becoming part of the machine. So let's just pull this all together. What we're looking at isn't just one threat. It's three, all fused into this perfect, untraceable weapon. You've got the Hydra model, which means it's decentralized and regenerative, so there's no central server to shut down. You've got the virus loop, which means it's constantly rewriting itself so there's no digital signature to catch. And you've got the crawlbot layer, which gives it autonomous amplification so there are no instructions to trace back to the source. And all of this leads to one single, deeply unsettling question. As the source material for this explainer puts it, how do you even begin to build a defense against a threat that has no server to find, no signature to detect, no center to attack, and, most importantly, no off switch? That is the challenge staring us right in the face.